Merry Christmas and 7:43. Merry Christmas, Madam Speaker.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year to everyone, too, coming up.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I hope everyone had found some joy in Christmas, despite the challenges that everyone's facing. And I know that it's been a tough year, and I'm looking forward to, a better year next year, an easier one for our students, an easier one for our Manamco. I'm hoping that they will be able to get back to, seeing each other. And we know they enjoy each other's company so much. So I'm really hoping for that. And we'll be able to show them a lot more love than we can by long distance. Yes.
Are you optimistic about the coming year? Because I kind of was, and then we had our friend Dr. Ho on yesterday, and he just rained down Omicron on my positive New Year vibes, saying that it's a matter of time before it gets here. We actually were able to get the governor yesterday, and she said that the decisions she's making, if there were any, that they're based on the determination that Omicron's already here. And so that's why she's saying, they're pushing the boosting, right? And so I'm sure the national scene with Omicron, it's crazy, the hospitalizations, right? And so we always follow what happens in the States.
Yeah. The hospitalizations in the States, I mean, they're not, some people are saying it's not as much as with the other variant. However, they are still being hospitalized. People are still dying. And so it's very concerning, of course, and I agree with all the precautions that they want to take. They should do that. I really actually liked the governor's quote the other day or right after Christmas where she said, prepare as if it's a super typhoon coming. And I liked that a lot because it made every family, take some responsibility to prepare your own household as if there is a super typhoon coming. And I also liked it because we can relate to that a lot. You know what I mean? As you're going to do everything in your power to take care of your family during that typhoon and to survive it afterwards as well. So, I agree that every agency should be expecting the worst and taking every precaution possible and helping every household to do the same.
Yeah, I mean, Madam Speaker, I get that you like the comment because of the analogy to the super typhoon, but what I got from that was, where was that before the Delta surge? Where was that messaging? You know what I mean?
No, I know.
And I'm not going to let them get it. Madam Speaker, there's so many people died unnecessarily in that surge, and had we had a better reaction from the public health authority, I think it could have turned out different. I mean, God forbid, and I'm just hoping that we learn from that, moving forward with whatever Omicron may bring.
I'm hoping as well. I'm hoping that we have learned a quicker way to respond, that we have learned everything that is available to us, and that people can actually access these things. I still find it, it's still confusing for people. Even testing is a little bit inconsistent. And, the clinics are charging, it looks like, for testing. If the insurance companies, if you have a deductible on your insurance, then you still have to pay for that when you go to a clinic. So, they're looking for the public health testing sites. And I just think we have to keep pushing testing as well. We can't get lax on any part of this, the contact tracing, the testing, and the vaccinations. And the social distancing, I just think that, of course, we need to keep doing that.
With the testing right now, public health doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday. At what point do you think they need to make it more accessible? Because it's been dialed down, right? It was every weekday, right?
Yes,
so now we're
it's
only
dialed down now, and they're saying in their announcements it's only by appointments up in the northern, and it's only by appointments in the southern. And so I think that discourages people, from getting tested immediately when they need to be tested immediately when they have symptoms and things like that. So, I don't know. I don't know the algorithm they're using or what kind of methodology to predict how much testing they're going to do, but I'm hoping now that the holidays are, that I don't know. I don't know what their rationale was. So I'm just hoping that they will, they need to really shore that up now. If we expect that the Omicron variant is here, then I think they need to shore that up, because one thing about that variant that is commonly known is that it is very easily transmitted. So we should have a good idea how wide it's been transmitted in the community, and that everybody should know that as fast as possible.
I wanted to get your comment just as the health chair with oversight of public health. And I know you saw the media reports. And again, like I told Senator Sabine, I felt like it kind of got lost in the ramp up to Christmas, which is great. Nice that we had a good Christmas. But it was this AboveStep recruitment for the new Children's Wellness Division Human Services Administrator, which was advertised as a classified position. Public Health told us there were applicants. But then the governor, in an interview with KUAF News, said that she appointed the DYA deputy director to that classified position. Have you been able to get any more insight into that? Does it concern you?
Of course, it's concerning. Yeah, I am. I'm very concerned about the seemingly, prevalent use of AboveStep recruitment for positions, and I haven't seen, how could it be difficult to recruit when that's a brand new position, right? Brand new. We should advertise it far and wide and see what we can get, and who would be willing to work at the salary levels that we have. So I am concerned, just because every time we do AboveStep recruitment, you kind of depart, from the merit system a little bit. You're giving somebody for that position more than you would have given someone else. And, we have a very clear procedure for when you're going to depart and do that. And I want to make sure that that's what's actually being done. And they're supposed to very much give the rational basis for departing from the regular system. And as we saw with GMH, we weren't able to see those immediately. We're looking through those now because they finally submitted documents to us. But it's that type of thing, right? Every time you're going to depart from the regular merit system, you run the risk of looking like you're playing favorites, like you're hiring without real competition, or you're catering the position to a person as opposed to the reverse, right?
Right. And so, where it becomes really concerning to me is who it is. It's a cabinet member. And now these government employees who are trying to move up and, do good things in their life and, maybe advance through the department. Now what? They have to compete with cabinet members? And you can see the writing on the wall. She's the sister of John Jr. Calvo, the chief of staff for the governor. And so, on its surface, without the justification as to why she would need an AboveStep recruitment for a new position that they should have, blasted from up on the mountaintops, it just looks like they're pulling all the stops, and it just really looks like favoritism. Any reasonable person would be like, hey, hold on.
Well, the problem with, we've talked about this before, that when you depart from that merit system or you do AboveStep recruitments, then it is sometimes results in morale issues for the rest of the government employees who've been working in that agency for a while and believe they are also qualified and should be equally eligible for those positions.
So you got some more documents from the Guam Memorial Hospital, Speaker?
Yes, we did. We received some of the petitions. You remember they didn't all even submit the petitions to us, which give the justification for AboveStep recruitment. So we did receive some. I can forward those to you. And they gave us, but we already had a copy of the resolution and different things. But we had researched that after they told us why the board had not participated in the AboveStep recruitments and left it to the administrator. So I'm hoping that the board, they have a meeting tonight, and so they had promised at the oversight hearing that they were going to pay closer attention to these things, that they were going to take another look at that delegation of power to the administrator and maybe take it back to the board level, where they are going to actively determine whether AboveStep recruitment is warranted for certain positions and whether to authorize it or not. I hope they do that.
Comment on the AG's suit relative to the governor's authority to do the quarantine thing.
That's
you think it's huge? Because the governor seemed kind of offended that they would even do that. The AG would even do that.
Well, it looks to me like the AG is trying to get some confirmation that what the Supreme Court said earlier applies as well in this situation, and that no one, not even the public auditor, can question the governor's procurement of these quarantine facilities, and that's unfortunate because I think the auditor did a very good job of pointing out that this procurement, and I think it's undisputed, right? This procurement was done outside of the regular procurement law. So if that's undisputed, I mean, that's a fact. That's the findings that he made. And, what the AG wants to do about it, apparently he's saying the Supreme Court has ruled, and so we should, and it really was quite a ruling by the Supreme Court at the time that the governor's powers of quarantine were not subject to the laws of Guam, right? That was our argument in the case, is that the Organic Act says subject to the laws of Guam, and the Supreme Court pretty much said not these laws. Yeah, so she did not have to do that. But so it looks like the AG, from what I can tell in his press release, I hope you can get him on the air. And
he's coming on tomorrow at 8.
That's good. So then I'll listen to what he has to say. But it looks like they're just trying to get confirmation again that what the Supreme Court has said, the governor's powers are also apply to what the public auditors, the procurement, the specific procurement the public auditor has discussed, meaning that the governor's is also, when it comes to quarantine and isolation facilities, is also above Guam law.
Right. So
Guam law. One of the lawyers I was talking to, likened it to that ruling to, like the Navy government, right, where the Navy governors had these extreme powers. They had all the power, and so she said it feels like we're back in Navy government days. And in a way, it really does, because we had really hoped when the Organic Act said subject to the laws of Guam, that the legislature would have a bigger role, and the people of Guam in formulating, exactly, yes, you have the power in emergencies and you have the power to quarantine and isolate, but can we at least put into law that you must give them the right to go to court and appeal their quarantine and isolation? That was what was being challenged in that court case, right? And so, I just think it's not a good. The Supreme Court has said that the governor has these extreme powers when it comes to quarantine and isolation, and that she was granted that by the Organic Act of Guam, and that the laws of Guam cannot curb that power. And that's unfortunate, I think. I made it a big thing, and I'm hoping to continue to do this in the upcoming year, is that the legislature has to really maximize and flex its role as an independent branch, as a branch that is supposed to be, in the scheme of U.S. government, American government constitution, it's supposed to be that check and balance on executive powers. And we have to do this in order to protect the rights of people, and to protect, what we feel to be the priorities of our community. And so I'm not going to give up on that. I'm very curious to hear what the AG has to say, or what the court's going to rule in this new case that he's bringing. But it sounds to me like he wants confirmation of the earlier Supreme Court decision that applies to this case as well.
Okay, so you wouldn't necessarily call it a challenge to the governor's authority. He's just saying, hey, is this ruling consistent with what the OPA, or does it negate what the OPA was saying?
Yeah, I think that's what it looks like to me. But I'm going to listen to what he has to say tomorrow on the air.
Okay.
I've tried to get the documents that were filed so I could see for myself what he's saying. Yeah. But I haven't got those yet. Hopefully this morning we would receive those. Okay. But
you talked about
but I am very happy about the decision in the gambling case, the gaming machines. That went on for years, and it went on through different governors. And so part of the reason it went on for years was not just that, the gaming companies were fighting with revenue and taxation and the government of Guam, but because the governors and their councils had joined in on the side of these companies. And since it started, right? And so they were disputing with the AG, which is so unusual to me and pretty mind blowing because, yeah, it's up to now, it's challenging because we have cases where the AG will say they represent the governor, right? They will do what the governor says. For example, in this, procurement. And then we have cases where the AG finally says, no, we are, representing the people of Guam, and this is contrary to the laws of Guam, and we're going to challenge everybody on it, including, governors and agencies. Yet, yeah, so this case was unusual, I thought, because not only did we have the AG, taking one position, we had governors' councils taking opposite positions. It wasn't until, one of the more recent court decisions where the governor's council finally, said, okay, we're not going to license these machines. But otherwise, they had pretty defiantly licensed the machines, despite the AG saying it was illegal to license the machines, despite the court cases going on and pretty much ruling that
Are these licenses renewed like yearly, or is it?
I'm not sure about the renewals. I'm not sure about that.
Okay.
So,
let's talk about are we going on KUAM? Okay, we're going to jump over to KUM TV, Madam Speaker. If you don't mind, I'd just like to get your look ahead to 2022 for just your various oversights. And I also did have a question about Chamorro Land Trust. That there's a lady that's been calling the last few days, so I do want to get her concern forwarded to you at 7:59. Fix yourselves, KUAM TV. Here we come. Good morning, KUAM TV. Welcome to the link. Hi, Jason.
Good morning.
Joe, sir, thank you. It's the link, Pacific Points, Cabo Enterprises, ITNE, and Jack in the Box on the last Wednesday of 2021. Yep, as the new year is quickly approaching. Before we get to the new year, Madam Speaker, and we're on with Speaker Therese Terlaje here on the link. There's a lady that's been calling. We're advertising the emergency rental assistance program, and I know that when I talked with Bernie over at DOA, they were working on the mortgage assistance program, which is for homeowners, right? But the question I had is that there's a woman who calls the show, and she actually called yesterday. She's on Chamorro Land Trust property. She's a Chamorro Land Trust lessee, and she was told that she doesn't qualify for the rental assistance. So is there, would they qualify under the mortgage assistance, or is there a way that because of their situation where they're, lessees of land trust properties, that they can qualify for assistance? Because it kind of seems like they're in that gray area from what she was telling me, because they don't rent, you know what I mean?
right. Yeah. I'm not sure, but I did refer another case to the office of Sarah Nedadog's office. I'm trying to remember the name.
Office of Homelessness and Poverty Prevention.
Correct, the homelessness. And because of similar situations, Chamorro Land Trust lessees unable to, they're unable, some of them, to hook up to water or power, right? So some of them have actually been living on these lots without running water. And so they've been paying for the porta potties or something like that, and they would like assistance to pay for that during this time. And so I did refer that case to them. They sounded like they might be able to help her. So I don't know. I'm just trying to go in that type of situation where they get denied by one program to try to look throughout the government for another program that they might qualify for some assistance. And I think people, I think that the need is great. There are very many people who have this type of need who may not qualify. And so I think we have to keep looking for this as one of the things, I think, in the new year that we have to do better on. We still have people living in extreme poverty, and it's so unfortunate here on Guam, but that is actually the reality, and I'm afraid that it's going up. We don't have the new census figures, but I did see a study that was done for 2022, which is upcoming. So I think I'm not sure when these these data were taken, but it's saying 51% poverty rate, 200, and that 2,500 out of 44,000 households with no income at all. And that type of thing, I just think, it gets exacerbated when we can't run the water in to these places. And so that's what I'm hoping for the new year, is that we're going to bring in, with our ARP money, with our infrastructure federal funds, that we're going to be able to make these system improvements that are going to change lives, really impact lives for not just today, but future generations, as I've been telling you this, right? This is my hope for the ARP funds. And so one of those has to be bringing water lines into areas of Guam that do not currently have running water, right? That is going to allow us to expand housing. It's going to allow us to expand businesses and hopefully, improve the quality of life of households on Guam. And I think that has to be all of our goal. Why are we in this job if not to improve the quality of living for the people of Guam? And that's what I'm hoping we're going to concentrate on with infrastructure, that we're going to, continue to, I think, to achieve this, we have to continue to push for open government. I think that that's still a priority of mine, and that was a priority of mine when I came into office. And with the little strides that we make, sometimes I feel like we go backwards a little bit. So I want to continue to push. We're working on some legislation now to finesse a little bit of this open government law, so that it's really applied equally across the board. Because I've been noticing that, we have some strict requirements, yet not all agencies adhere to these things. It's very inconsistent right now. I'm hoping either, we're going to get the AG. The AG did a open government class or something, but we need more. I think we need some more in writing, circulars or whatever method they want to use to give guidance to these agencies, so that they are all following the same procedures. And that, that would answer a lot of the public's questions as to, is this legal or not, if we can get that. And otherwise, the ones that we cannot resolve just by, advising them, this is what it means, this is what you should do, then that we fix those statutes and we get rid of the gaps. And I'm trying to work on that right now. We did a little bit, right? We increased transparency and some of the recent laws that we have passed, but I just think we need to do more, apparently. Yeah, there's still some loopholes.
Right, and that's the land. I know your oversight of the land committee, Madam Speaker, and I just want to go back to the spending plan for ARP. You and your colleagues submitted to the governor. Very ambitious, $25 million for Chamorro Land Trust, right?
Yes.
To put in infrastructure into these properties.
Yes.
I didn't see anything relative to that in the governor's release on the ARP.
There was none.
Okay.
I didn't see it either. So, there's a little bit money, if I remember correctly, going to ancestral lands for technology. I can't remember now, but I did notice right away that infrastructure for Chamorro Land Trust was not in there. I'm hoping they were going to use the infrastructure money instead for that, right? Yeah. But we haven't seen the plan for the infrastructure spending yet at all.
Oh.
But there are things that we can do, I think, that would ease the burden on households. And I think, at least, I think we should recognize the burden on households. We have recognized the burdens that businesses are undergoing, but I don't think we've adequately recognized the burden that households are undergoing. Yep. And we need to continue to boost them up as much as possible. We, water's one thing. Utility rates, of course, are one thing. And so we did see some ARP money going towards rates, like holding the rates level for a time period.
Right.
But there is hopefully some infrastructure money that's going to go into improvements in areas, bringing in sewer, water. When you bring in sewer, you change the type of development that can happen in those places, the density, that type of thing. So all of that will improve housing and, of course, standard of living. But I think we're also getting money to repair the roads. And I'm trying to work with DPW to assure that reaches as many roads as possible. We've got this thing between federal highways on Guam and our village streets. Yeah. And so we've been trying to fund village streets with fuel taxes. You know, it's been a very slow process of repairing village streets. And for sure, no one wants to raise taxes on fuel anymore. The fuel costs are already outrageous. So I think we should try to reduce those fuel taxes if we've got this infrastructure money and we can get it to be applied to village roads, right? Then that's what I'm trying to work on right now. And that's, I'm hoping we will be successful in.
I wanted to ask about this. I asked GVB CEO, former Governor Carl Gutierrez, about this project below Two Lovers Point. This, like, you know what I'm talking about? I forget the name.
Vista Del Mar.
Right.
Vista Del Mar.
Yes, the land share. Did you have any? Are you just watching this? Any comments?
Of course, no, no. Watching very closely. This is a project of great concern to me. I got the packet, trying to read through it all. It looks like, according to the laws of Guam, they are pretty much authorized to build certain things, and they want variances to go above those heights. I think 13 floors is already allowed, and they're trying to get a variance up to 26 floors for one of the buildings, right? For example. So there's only certain things that are going to be considered at these hearings that are coming up, and there are already certain things that are pretty much approved, or like would be considered approved. So it's not like we're saying, well, it doesn't look to me like we're saying yes or no to the project altogether, but I'm concerned, of course. I mean, every time we know that all these areas across the shores of Guam are potential burial sites, especially in Tumon. And we know, that there are ancient villages sites as well. And then we've seen concerns from the Department of Agriculture. So if you look through the agency's concerns, a lot of them have concerns. Some of them said, stop the project, don't move forward because of these concerns. Some of them said, we have these concerns. So if you can address these concerns, then, go ahead with the project. And one of those was, I think, the utilities, like the water, right?
Yeah.
And, so I passed a law recently that was trying to enforce these conditions that are put on developments, right? So for example, if they go forward and they say, okay, you can do this as long as you put in the water that GWA has said you need, right? And you put in this protection for the wildlife, and you put in this, and you put in this. And if you do this kind of historic preservation studies, that all these conditions that sometimes they put in are never enforced. That's what we've seen in the past, not enforced. And
we've seen it pretty recently too, Madam Speaker.
Yes. So we passed a law recently, very recently, just this term, in fact, to require additional enforcement of those conditions and put someone responsible for enforcing those conditions. And so in this case, we put the Department of Land Management. And so my staff is doing some follow-ups to find out whether they've actually been able to use that law to enforce any of the conditions of these projects, whether they're keeping track like they're supposed to be doing of all the conditions on all of the projects. We've seen parking conditions put in, right? And then years later, you see the parking lots are taken for something else, and that was the one that really got me to do that law, because I could see that there was just not enough parking, like in some of the hotels, for customers. And how could that have been approved without enough parking? But when you look back, one of the conditions was that they were going to have enough parking, but over the years, they've converted their parking into other things, or, into restricted parking and different things where the public cannot access those. So those are just some of the conditions. And I think this project, I'm looking very closely to see if you're going to put conditions on that is going to protect the environment, protect the concerns that have been raised, and whether we're going to be able to enforce those. And if not, then they should not be given approval for the project, right? If they cannot enforce the conditions, then I hope that Guam Land Use Commission, has the foresight to say, no, because we can't force you to put in these conditions.
Right. I mean, also the bigger question to me, Madam, or the issue at hand here, Madam Speaker, to me anyway, is that development north of Tumon, on that side of the island, right? I mean, to me, they're
very close to each other, right? Yeah. So north of Tangisan, we've got, the base development, which was massive, right? And then we've got the live fire training range, which was a massive, again, clearing of these areas above the aquifer. And I think our number one concern should always be the aquifer. That's number one. Second, all the other concerns we have concerns for biodiversity that's being lost. We have concerns for historic sites that are being impacted that we cannot, fix back to their original condition. All of that being lost, and so we've already experienced so much loss. I think in the last even in the last 10 years, despite all of our laws, right, that are in place, and that planning and land use has to look at our island as a whole and try to take care of this island. That's what all those people who came before us for confirmation swore that they would do. And so I'm really looking to them to do that and to enforce, open government, all of it, so that the public can participate as much as possible. I've heard some issues that they're having with some of the meetings that have taken place in regards to this development. So I hope that if that's the case, that those meetings are redone, those hearings are redone, and that the public is given the opportunity to participate.
Madam Speaker, is there any update with because I saw there was a sign over there where the governor is proposing to build her billion dollar healthcare complex, and this is basically like a land back sign. I don't know if you saw that, but has there been any update with the original landowners in that whole?
I saw that sign, and I love that sign.
You got goosebumps, I bet, huh?
Yeah, you know why? Because I feel for these landowners. It's very hard to speak up. They're so afraid of, retribution. And yet they have come to our hearings. They've come to my office and pretty much crying, you know what I mean? Saying, why aren't they hearing us? How come no one's talking to us? At the very least, let alone why are they taking our land, right? Why aren't they going to return it to us? And I very much feel for them. And I really feel for all of us if we are so willing to look the other way at something like this. And I'm hoping that the people of Guam are with me on this, that we are not going to look the other way, that we're going to look straight at this and not let it happen, right? And so that we are going to bring justice. We are not going to be part of what we have complained about for decades, that injustice that has occurred, that I don't want to be part of continuing that injustice or putting new injustices on top of these, prior ones. And so I think we should all be very conscious of that and do our best. And so I love the sign. It's a reminder. And I think we should put that all over Guam, where there is land that could be returned that looks like excess to us, right? And that we should remind everyone that, return this land. It's excess for military purposes, return this land. And it's excess to government of Guam purposes, return this land. And or bring justice to the landowner.
Yep. Return it back. Madam Speaker, go ahead.
This is complex, because this is why we are facing poverty. Yeah. I really believe this, that it's a decades long injustice has taken these families, separated them from their lands, brought them. They used to be some of the richest people.
I could be rich right now, Madam Speaker.
Now they're we've got generations of these families living in poverty.
I could be. My family is Radio Barragata, my grandma, the Flores.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even be here right now. I could be donating $1 million to whatever nonprofit. But the damn federales took our land.
I just think we have to always remember that, and always remember that's why we can't just look the other way. It's we have to do our part to bring justice.
Madam Speaker, Judiciary, we didn't get anything on that. The New Year's coming, plans, ambitions, thoughts, concerns with the Judiciary of Guam moving forward into 2022.
Well, the Judiciary has faced its own challenges, right? And from COVID and bringing juries in and just facilities, managing those. But I think they've received ARP money a lot, quite a bit of ARP money, and they received that up front. So I'm hoping that they will resolve any lingering issues that's causing delays in trials, or, that they will be able to bring justice. We've passed several laws that we've tried to make the standard of release of people who are undergoing trials or people who have been convicted, that they are not released if they are going to be a threat to the community. And I I'm afraid that, you know, this continues to happen, and we really, that is really an area that needs to be improved, I think. And so, you know, we've tried to do it on our end by passing different laws, putting in standards of release, putting in different types of, you know, either you rehabilitate them or you don't let them out, right? Or you recognize that they're not rehabilitated and you act accordingly, like you know, and there's things that they can do. But to act like everybody is equally rehabilitated when we know for a fact that we don't have, you know, sexual conduct or sexual predator rehabilitation on Guam at the time, that type of thing is what we found out with oversight hearings, and then we've tried to correct with legislation. But, you know, of course, it takes these other branches to implement these and to enforce these things. And so I'm just hoping that that's one of the things that the community is going to feel like, that they're not being put at risk through release, right? And that their interests are being taken care of, and that we are doing our best to rehabilitate where we can. For example, drug use, you know, supposedly can be rehabilitated. So I say we go all out on it, yeah. Right? And those that we cannot, or we're just not able to do now, that we improve those areas and find how can we do that. Right. And otherwise, yeah, we've got a whole other system going on than what we think we have, right? We think we've got a system where you go in there, you're going to do your time, you're going to get rehabilitated, and when you're let out, you know, you should be free. You should be entitled to the same as everyone else. The problem is, if you go in there and you spend 10 years and you're not rehabilitated at all, and you come out the same risk that you were before you were put in, and that's the reason you were put in, because you're a risk to children, you're a risk, you know, to the community, then our system's not working, and we need to improve that. So we're trying to improve that through improvements to the facilities themselves, through laws that have detailed sentencing, detailed release, especially, you know, and that's a big thing for me, is release has to be safe. The judges have to make a determination that it is going to be safe for the community, and they need to stick to that standard.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Great interview. You know, we missed you, and it's good to get you on before.
You know, if I could just extend my condolences to Sabrina and her family, I would really like to do that, and I feel for her, and I know she's been going through it. You know, we've all the families who have lost someone very dear to them during this time. It's even more difficult, I think, because of COVID. But to all of you, thanks for all of your work during the year, and all of your listeners, thanks for your listening and paying attention to your government. I am grateful for that above all. And I'm wishing everyone health going forward, good health and safety. And let's take care of each other.
Right. Madam Speaker, you know, thank you for that about Sabrina, because she is having a hard time as in the States. I mean, due to the pandemic and just everything, the funeral times, everything is just backed up so much. Even on Guam, I was talking to somebody, my party's sister died, and they're not going to be able to complete everything with her until, you know, way later than they normally would, because of, I'm assuming, the deaths in the pandemic and the regular deaths that occur have kind of backed everything up. So
yeah, and it's so complicated. It has become so complicated, and I feel for all these families, really. Right. It's really hard.
Thank you, Speaker.
Take care.
See you next year.
Yes.
All right. Okay. I got to do that. Everybody who comes on. See you next year. Never gets old. Tomas Maglonia, good morning, my friend.
Good morning.
Right on. It's 8:20.